All right, what's going on, guys? This video is going to be me making 150K this year. Very interesting to make. If you were to ask me, this seems very unattainable. However, a little bit about me. If you were to ask me 4 or 5 months ago if a 10K payout was attainable, I would have said, hell nah. But we were able to attain that and be consistent with it. And with that being said, with the 10K payout, there was a way I had to maneuver to get that. And with this big goal, I have a plan and I have it planned out on what I have to do over the courses of the months of this year to attain that. The reason why it's 150K and I wish it was a little less was because I had asked my parents what's a good goal for me to hit to drop out of school, because that's honestly what I want to do. I fucking hate school. School is literally the worst thing, bro. Like, well, you're in school for like your whole childhood. It's no fun, and obviously, who wants to slave at a job, right? No one does. Like, I honestly think money equals happiness, but that's a whole argument in itself. But with that being said, they said that that's the number that they want to see for me to drop out of school and kind of just not be disappointed in me. And I understand that from my parents' perspective. And I want to make this journey to show my parents, to look back on, but also to show you, to whoever's watching this, that this goal or whatever you have in mind, whether it's trading or just a goal outside of trading, like lifestyle or whatever, it's attainable. You just need to find small stepping stones or small goals to attain that will slowly get you to that big goal. And I want to be the person to show you guys that process and show that it's actually doable and not impossible. All right, so in order for me to attain this goal, I obviously need, a plan, right? Baby steps, baby goals to lead to the big goal. Now, I need the most allocation that I can get through a prop firm. With that being said, I'm going to be using Apex. Yes, I've heard some things about them being suspicious about paying people out, but I personally think that that's really just a skill issue to the trader, just not understanding and comprehending the rules. But I'll fuck around and find out if what people are saying is actually true about them. But regardless of that fact, you can trade 20 accounts with them. Obviously, the dumb way to go about it is to just buy 20 accounts. I've never used them before. I need to see what the rules are, get acclimated to how to trade on these accounts. So I'm going to be starting with one account, and each payout I get, I will be multiplying by two until I get to the 20 accounts that I need. With that being said, it's a lot easier said than done, right? I really don't think I'm going to be going from 1 to 20 accounts within the span of like a couple months. That's like very unrealistic. There's going to be, I'm sure, a time where I have like maybe 10 or 15 accounts and I blow all the accounts, right? Like that happens. Sometimes this fucking trading shit rage baits the shit out of you and you get pissed off and something happens, right? We're not perfect, we're human. So, to work around that, I'm going to be having some fail safes in line to make sure that the margin of error of the money that I'm, sending back into the markets is relatively small. Especially throughout, I guess last year, I learned a lot about that. So I'm kind of glad that I was able to go through that and experience it just to make sure that that doesn't happen again, especially with something so large, if that makes sense. All right, so this is my trading journal for Notion for this year. Don't mind these two trades; they were taken on Top Step, so they don't really count. But I have a PA account with Apex. It was relatively easy to get. I top and bottom tick, so my RR is pretty high. However, they have a retarded consistency rule, so I can show pictures, but on other prop firms, I let my shit run, but I can't really do that with this firm, so kind of sucks. But these are the trades for this week. It wasn't too bad. I ended up being right with this bias, just terrible entry. And then this is a prime example of letting my shit run. I usually run it up to here, but we can't. We just have to nerf ourselves and just take the 1200. But, profit's profit, so it's whatever. As far as trades here on out goes, I will be journaling them. However, I won't be showing you my journal, um, unless, but I can, but it'll be periodically. I'm just going to be showing it through TradingView. Okay, so it is currently 2 p.m. I woke up an hour ago. My sleep schedule is completely cooked, but that's what you get for trading these late night sessions. I was able to place three limit orders. One got edged, which was the red one. The orange one, I went break even on. And then the one that I actually placed earlier into yesterday actually ended up getting hit. And I had to wake up at 3 a.m. because I was in a trade, which was this one. I'll explain everything. That way you guys kind of know what my thought process is. But, anyways, so we open here and then we dump, sweeping all these relative equal lows. We kind of have like this huge AMD model. But anyways, we dump, we tap into this gap, we sweep all this. My thought process is we're not going to go any lower, right? We create this huge move, and with this move, we have relative equal lows on the 15-minute, and we have lower a time frame gap that I placed my entry trigger on, and that was my first limit order, right? Okay. So because we filled this gap with this big move here, and we swept these highs, and then we swept these highs on the 5 minute, or is it right here? I was expecting price to either dump here or somewhere up here. Um, I wanted it to dump into this wick here. I didn't really feel comfortable going any lower, but we ended up getting edged. This usually happens a lot sometimes. I'll show a trade that I took last week that ended up getting edged. But anyways, because we're bottom and top ticking, I like to go break even relatively quickly because when you're top and bottom ticking, price really shouldn't come back up or down into where you entered like immediately, right? So to minimize the stop loss risk as well as just like your win rate, I kind of like to go break even relatively quickly. So we went break even here and we ended up getting invalidated. And then we were so close to this dump, but we unfortunately couldn't make it, which kind of sucked. But I knew that this dump was the rebalance from the change in state from this whole move. Where is it? From this whole move up. So price, I was expecting it to rebalance down and to sweep these equal lows, and we ended up doing it. Usually my rules are is if I lose a trade or if I go break even, I have to kind of risk a little less. So I ended up taking I think $800 from this trade instead of 12. And again, usually on other prop firms, I like to let this run. However, you can't do this on Apex, which kind of sucks, but I have to follow the rules, and I kind of explained why I'm using Apex too, right? But regardless of the fact, those were the three trades that I was looking for as my points of interest, and we ended up coming out with one working out at the end. Um, and yeah, that's I guess, the trading recap for today. Hopefully, everything makes sense. I'm not the best at explaining what my thought process is. I'm kind of like not good at explaining shit. But other than that, that's the trades for today, or sorry, yesterday. Hopefully, we're going to be able to catch something nice during Asia or London in a little bit, but I'm gonna be hitting the gym, and I'll see you guys in the next recap. All right, so this is a trade that I took this morning around like 2 a.m. The entry wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but we were playing off of 1 minute AMD model as well as a rejection block on the 1 minute, and obviously those kind of are a little bit sus for me to just enter because it got to that point. So I decided to wait for a little bit more confirmation to do so. But my overall thinking process through this trade was the only point where this is likely to dump would be right now or when we cross this black line that we're about to hit. And from there, I'll go break even, right? Because that's when I'll know, like, okay, like this is probably going to be invalidated and we're going to rebalance. We ended up not doing so, so I was a little bit more confident on this trade once we passed that point of interest. We go break even, and then just because we sweep higher time frame liquidity right now, I was kind of sus, so I just waited for us to go a little bit back up, and then I took out. All right, what's going on? So I was supposed to make 2 trading recaps, but they got deleted. They disappeared. I put them on my Mac. I record on my Mac. This is what I'm recording on now. I send them to my PC, and when I sent them, I delete them on my Mac to, not have a bunch of videos on my MacBook. And they're gone. They're corrupted. So I'm gonna make this video in place for those 2 trading recaps. This week I was able to end off with a 5K balance. I'll put it up here, and I was able to buy 4 accounts and pass them. So now we have 5 accounts to trade with. I think once you realize with evals that they're not that serious and it's fake money, evals become a whole lot easier to pass. But that's another video in itself. I really wanted to talk about how your why is a definitive factor on whether you will succeed in something like remotely hard, right? I think with anything remotely hard, you need to have a why that resonates with you and will carry you past that failure. Because with anything hard, you will fail. And with that being said, you need something like a why or something with direction to lead you out of that failure, to move on from it and fix it. And without that, I think it truly plays into a factor of, success and failure. This isn't just about trading. This is about other things in life as well. Like, I don't know, bruh. You're fat at the gym. Or, sorry, you're fat. And, you just want to get skinny, right? Like, that's not a good enough why, right? Because you'll just keep pushing it off and off and off. I think a good why with being fat would be, my health is on the line and I probably won't see another 20 years of my life if I am, maintaining this body weight. That's a good reason. Or maybe it's something with a relationship that you have going on, like anything that ties into something that emotionally scares you. With that being said, with trading, I think a really weak why is I just want to make money, right? You can make money anywhere, right? Anywhere you can make money. You can make money on the street, begging like a homeless person. That why is so weak, like it is. Because if you start to fail and you don't see much progress, especially with trading, it feels like you're throwing effort at a brick wall for the most part. If your why is only that, you're going to move on to something else, and then you're going to move on to something else, and then something else, because there's nothing that carries you with purpose. I think a good example of this is a why I'll give out. I have a bunch, but like obviously I kind of want to keep those ones private, but I'll explain one of them. I come to my dad's house very often and I look at him working, and he hates his job. He works a 9 to 5. I always ask him, how's your day? I fucking hate it. I want to clock out. I want to enjoy my rest of my day. I despise this. And, seeing my dad, my influence, the person I look up to, having to deal with something like that, it hurts. It truly, like, it it breaks my heart to see that happen to him, you know? And I think anyone would want to retire and do the things they love rather than working for someone and building someone else's dreams, right? I don't think there's any enjoyment in that. Sure, there's some jobs that, let you have fun, or some people enjoy their jobs, but it's for the most I think for the most population, no one really likes their job. Like I'm pretty sure everyone wants to just like kick back and relax, do what they want to do. But obviously we live in a world where you can't really just do that without any punishment of obviously, not having a house or food to eat. So seeing my dad in that position and seeing him day in and day out, you know, be miserable at something he does every day to put food on the table, like that, breaks me, And I'm sure, people who are watching this can relate with me on, I guess, that experience. But I don't want to have that happen to me. I think I would rather kill myself than live a life where I'm, for like 70% of my life, spending my time building someone else's dream and being miserable. There would be no point to live. Like, sure, family, but like, there's that truly scares me. Um, and on top of that, too, like, even when I was very little, I hated when people told me what to do. I don't want a boss or a slave master to tell me when to clock out, when to eat, when I'm able to have my free days. I don't think anyone with the right mind would really want that to happen, to themselves. And with that being said, that is my true and one of my main factors as to why I keep going, even in the gutters of what trading can bring you to. And I've seen so much growth over this year throughout my trading journey, and being, responsible of my decision making in trading, that I personally think that this is my only shot to get out of that life. And I think the having that scare and motivation to live my life how I want to live, and also providing for my family for my mom and my dad, I think is really what carries me. I would rather see my parents happy for the things that I did than to, be in a relationship with someone, or, have a lot of friends or go to parties. I would rather sacrifice all of that to making myself good at one skill to endlessly provide for my family. Um, and I know some people think differently, and that's fine, but that's how I think, and that's my opinion. But I think with anything hard, you need to have a why that's truly strong and that resonates with you, because without it, there's no purpose to continue something hard, because it's going to suck and you need to see it through. But if you don't have anything to scare you or to give you motivation to do what you're supposed to do, you're going to go off the rails with it and fail. And I think that is truly what happens to some people. With that being said, I think to whoever's watching this, please really think to yourself, what is your why? Why do you want to, suffer trading, or suffer going to school for 8 hours, not 8 weeks? 8 years. Why do you want to go to the gym and lift heavy weights and put your body through pain? Why? why do you want to do these hard things? There needs to be something in your head to tell you and to scare you and to give you motivation to do it. Because if there's not, you'll be going nowhere, right? Comfortability kills everything. And I think that is the most scariest part of, having a job that is steady, because it's steady until you can't uphold the physical labor or the mental labor that requires you to keep that job. And without it, you're nothing. And I think that scares me as well, because I need to be independent for myself, and I can't rely on someone else's dream to carry me through life. But please think about your why, write it on a notebook, tell yourself, please, really think, and remember that don't let your why, especially in trading, be a scare factor. Because if you always constantly think about it and it's always scaring you and stressing you out, you're going to rush things that aren't supposed to be rushed. You're going to be doing things that you're not supposed to be doing. And you're only doing that because you want to cut corners to, fill that why. But you have to take it slow, take it day by day. Just keep your head down, go step by step. And eventually, the big mountain that you were at the bottom of, you'll be at the tippy top if you just look down and keep going, because all it takes is just baby steps. But anyways, next video will be recaps for the 5 funded accounts. And yeah, I hope this video helped you in some sort of way, and see you in the next one. Bye.